Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for this episode. My guest this week is Neil Lassen. He's an e-commerce seller and an app developer, and he has developed a brand new Etsy keyword research tool called Sales Samurai. Now, if you're subscribed to my email newsletter, you've probably already heard me hinting at this. I told you that I was testing out a new Etsy keywords research tool, and this is it. And you probably, by the time this airs, have more information about this than everyone who's about to hear this podcast. So, Neil, I am so glad to have you on the podcast to talk about Sales Samurai and what it can do for Etsy sellers. So thank you for being my guest.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. Now, before we get into it, can you just tell us about you, your background, and how you came about developing Sales Samurai?
Yeah, so, do you want the long story or do you want the short and condensed version?
We like long stories.
Long story. Okay, so going back to college, that was about 10 years ago. I thought I was going to become a lawyer. Okay, so I had taken the exam. I was ready to apply to law schools. I just woke up one morning and said, yeah, I'm not so sure that is what I actually want to do. And at the time, I had been working at Target. So if you're from the USA, you know probably what Target is. I was the guy pushing shopping carts for a solid $8 an hour, and miserable. Hated it. But hey, I had to pay rent, had to buy food. And around that time, I think it was July 4th. Okay, so I closed that night, went outside, usually took the bus home. It's probably about 5 miles away. Okay, so I'm sitting at the bus station. It's 11 p.m., and the bus didn't come because it was July 4th. So I ended up just walking home. I don't know why I forgot that Uber probably existed. So I walked the 5 miles home, and that was the night that I sat on the computer. I'm like, I need a way out of this. So I probably Googled something along the lines of, how to make money online, and just went down a giant rabbit hole of, there's this whole world out there of e-commerce and affiliate marketing and software and pretty much everything under the sun. So I just started trying anything that I thought sounded interesting. Fast forward a few years, I found Amazon. I realized they have so much traffic. They have a built-in audience, a lot like Etsy. Start selling private label products. So what that means is that I would buy products from overseas and have them shipped to an Amazon warehouse. But the problem there is I had no idea what I was doing at all. So my products would get stuck in customs. Absolute nightmare. What finally happened, though, is that I noticed that there's this thing called print on demand. Amazon launched a print on demand service called Merch by Amazon. So I jumped into that, realized that I didn't have to touch any physical product ever again, but I could still sell on these marketplaces. And that just lit a fire under me. So I went from Amazon and I realized, well, I can sell books on Amazon. And wait a minute, there's other marketplaces besides Amazon, one of them being Etsy. So that means I spent a lot of time kind of going around seeing, all right, what platforms are there to sell on that have a built-in audience, and what can I offer them? So it's kind of a little bit of a condensed version, but I went from pushing shopping carts at Target to selling a lot of e-commerce products kind of all over the internet.
Wow, I had no idea about that, but I'm glad you shared that, because you just never know who that person is pushing the carts. I always see those guys, and especially in the winter, I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I know. And the thing is too, it was weird because people would either treat you really nicely, like, oh, I feel so bad for you, or they would treat you so poorly. And I'm like, I'm just doing this to pay bills. I'm in school. Like, I really don't want to be doing this forever. But yeah, it's interesting.
What was it like when you made that decision to not go to law school? Because that meant you were giving up what most people perceive as a secure future.
At the time, it was, you know, I never really thought about that. That's a good, that's a good question. I don't think it was that scary at the time. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the reason I decided not to go to law school is that I was going to take a chance on myself. I'm the type of person who'd rather do things my own way, and if I fail, then the only person I can blame is myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the time, it wasn't really a big deal, but remember, I was trying out all of these different things. I was starting websites, I was making YouTube videos, I was running ads here, I was selling
Yeah.
over here. And, there was a period after I quit my job where all of that income just poof, disappeared, went away. And here I am like, okay, what am I going to do now? Sort of thing. Let's try to find the next thing so I don't have to go back and push shopping carts for the rest of my college career. So that was a little bit frightening, but I tested out everything I could. It was just constantly about changing things around, figuring out what am I doing wrong, what can I improve on,
Yeah.
and kind of just making those tweaks until I found out what was working.
Yeah. I feel similar to you in that, I had kind of the same journey. I mean, I didn't develop an app, but I feel like I tried everything. I, did Amazon, did eBay,
Yeah,
did
eBay's in there too for me.
yeah, most people who go down that path go down that path.
Yup.
Like we're all walking it. And and then ended up on Etsy. Not that I ever abandoned the others, but when you have that mindset, you're trying everything, and everything works in a different way, in its own way. And so what I'm doing on Amazon works for Amazon. What I'm doing for Etsy works for Etsy. And so
Yep, exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And it's really all about just constantly testing. I mean, even when you find out what is working, that's not the end, right? Like you have to
Exactly.
keep on iterating, keep on trying things so that your business as a whole kind of moves forward.
Yeah. So now you're in software development. How did you decide that you wanted to create software?
Yes, so going back to when Merch by Amazon first launched, so I was trying all of these different things. Some of them were going well, some of them weren't. But I started selling a lot of products on Amazon, and that just became my absolute obsession. And the whole idea behind the software that we've created is finding what people on these platforms, so in this podcast we're talking about Etsy, what people are actually searching for so that we as sellers can offer them a great product, right? So going back in my story, all I was doing all day long was ignoring all of the other businesses that I had started and spending like 10 to 12 hours a day on the search bar. Like, what can I find out? Like, what are people buying? What are people selling? Okay, now let's create these ginormous spreadsheets. Okay, and it was taking so long because all I would do is go through products all day and create spreadsheets of like, okay, so this product is selling well, it seems to get searched, but what can I actually offer the same type of audience, right? Because I want to offer different products, but I want people to care about my products. So all I did all day long was ignore everything else and just spend so much time creating these spreadsheets. And, fast forward a while, that's getting really old. So we started creating software around the idea of, the research process is incredibly important to e-commerce, no matter where you're selling, but that's not the only part to e-commerce. There's got to be a way to kind of speed up this process for me, and I have a business partner and all of our friends who are doing this. So they're not spending so much time in front of the computer, and they can focus on what they love to do. And most of the people I talk to love to create, not actually research.
Yeah.
So kind of taking that whole process, compacting it down to say maybe an hour a day, maybe less. I don't know. It just really depends on what you're doing, so that you can get the information you need and stop getting information overload, or you don't have unlimited time, and putting all those pieces together so that you can move your business forward.
Yes, and I know that's something that a lot of sellers struggle with, and perhaps because of the nature of Etsy, most people come on already having a product that they want to sell. They've been making it on the side and, giving it to friends and family members who are now, frustrated and don't want any more. So they're like, go sell your thing. We don't, thanks for the gifts, but enough. And sometimes, even though a seller has a product already, I'll put myself in this. We come on saying this is what we want to sell, but then we get stuck and discouraged because it's not selling like we thought we could. Where does Sales Samurai come into the process to help us hone in? So let's talk about the soap maker who that's what he does. He makes soap. He's not going to change what he's already doing.
Right.
To create, a new product. Where does Sales Samurai come in to assist him to actually start getting sales of what he's doing?
Yeah, so I mean that's a great example because from what I've seen, some people are creating something with a total kind of buying audience of one person, right? And that's probably them or that family member that wanted this very specific thing. But soap is a great example because lots of people want soap, right? So so Sales Samurai can help in a few different ways, right? So the first is that if you are a soap creator, okay, there's lots of different types of soap out there. One, there's different shapes of soap, I assume, just from staying in hotels and seeing those little bear soaps, So when it comes down to it, if you're making soap and there's an audience for soap, but you're having a hard time reaching this audience, what you really need to focus on are kind of just a few key aspects of Etsy SEO. So the first one is going to be making sure that your listings themselves are filled out. So what do I mean by that? I mean excellent images, great tags, and a great title. Okay, so the first thing the Sales Samurai can do if you're already selling and you already have a shop is just connect your shop and then go through and look at the information. Because I guarantee you, if you've been doing this a while and you have more than, say, a couple of products up, you've probably missed out on a tag. Like all of those tags should be filled out. You've probably not added all the images that you should have. And you can just do that in a few simple clicks to figure out which listings are missing tags, are missing images, so on and so forth. The second way it can help is actually helping you find those keywords to use in either your title or your tags. Those are the two big ones. Making sure that there's intent behind them. People are actively looking them up on the computer, because if you put a tag in your soap, for example, and no one else on Etsy is looking for that specific tag, you might rank for it, but no one's going to end up buying it because you're advertising through your tags to an audience of no one, right? So really finding those keywords as tags, really finding those keywords that people are searching for to put in your title, the main important aspects of your listing, making sure that those actually have search volume so that when you do put them up, it kind of creates this coherent picture so your listing makes sense. All of the tags you're using actually get searched for. But at the same time, you're using tags that are hyper specific. Okay, they might only get a couple hundred searches a month, but if they're hyper specific, they don't have very much competition. You're going to end up ranking for those, and since people are looking for them, that's when the sales start coming in.
Okay, so is one of the things that Sales Samurai does give us tag suggestions and also the volumes of those tags, or I guess volume is the right word, or how often that tag is used, so that we can pick the ones that we have more of a chance to rank for?
Right. So one of the first things, if you get Sales Samurai is free for 3 days because we want people to actively use it and make sure it's a good fit for their business. So if you first log in, you're going to see a bunch of tutorial pages. But what you're talking about is if you go to the search function and you just type in a broad niche, so if you just typed in soap, something like that, on the left side of the page, you're going to see tags and you'll see a count number next to it. Okay, so what those are those are going to be the most used tags in the top sellers, aka the position that you want to be in, right? Like we can look
Okay.
at Etsy, it's a public space, and say, oh, like we want to rank on this first page because that's where the majority of the traffic is shopping, on that front page. So
Mhm.
we can go in and we can look at all of the tags that are on that front page in a nice little list, and we can click through them and pick out, all right, which tags are actually relevant to the exact product I'm selling,
Mm.
right? So that'll give you the count, the number of times that the people in the position you want to be in are actively using those tags. And then on the right side, it's going to give you some keyword suggestions. Now, these are just suggestions, okay? So
Mm.
you can go through them and you can see, all right, here's the keyword and here's how many searches per month it goes. And it's going to be
Okay.
ranked in order of how many searches there are. What you would want to do at that point is go through those lists if you already have a product and just pick out which ones are relevant and specific, right?
Okay.
You don't want to just say, oh, well, soap gets, I don't know what it gets right now. It probably make a couple thousand searches a month, probably more. You don't
Yeah.
want to just use soap as your tag, right?
Yeah.
You want to use something like, lavender soap for X as
Mm.
your tag, something specific. It might not get as many searches per month, but you know that keyword gets some searches and it's exactly what you're selling, and kind of marry those two things together.
Okay. Okay, that does help. Yes, and I saw that in the tool, and yes, it was helpful to know. I didn't realize that those were from the first page, which makes it even better because those are the things that, like you said, are ranking highest on Etsy, and so are most relevant to that particular whatever keyword it was that was being searched.
Yep, exactly. For the tags on the left side, so you'll get the tag list, right? And probably
Mm-hmm.
be a few pages of those. And on the right, you'll see the number of times that those tags were used
Mm-hmm.
in those bestsellers. And the bestsellers are typically on the first page there.
Okay. So a good rule of thumb would be pick keywords for your tags, or tags rather, that are very specific and most relevant, but also not too saturated.
Yep, I would say that
Okay.
is a good way to look at things.
Okay. All right. So that's tags. And I know sometimes, as a seller, you're creating your listing and you're sitting there and you're thinking, okay, how else can somebody put this in? And
Yep.
and a lot of times we're the ones just coming up with ideas like, well, this is what I think somebody is going to put in. And it's easy to go wrong there. And then we wonder why
And
nobody is
a lot
finding.
of the times though too, when you're doing that, you're not getting super specific. So when you're sitting there with this hypothetical soap listing, you're
Mhm.
not thinking of something, really long tail, really specific. You're just kind of stumped. You're like, well, they might type in, green soap, right?
Mhm.
Green soap, that's so broad it doesn't describe your specific listing. You really want to find something that doesn't have too many other people searching for it, because
Yeah.
you'll be able to get those sales on these little keywords, right? So I mean, if a keyword has, I don't know, 100 searches a month, and you're able to rank that because there's really no one else selling there, and you start getting sales for those smaller keywords or tags that you're using, eventually you're going to be able to rank for those big keywords like soap bar. But that's
Mm.
that's not what you should target right off the bat, because
Yeah.
everyone wants to make sales, and the easiest way to do that is targeting the low competition, still searched for but not heavily searched for keywords.
Okay. One of the other things that Till Samurai provides is pricing spread and something that you call competition grade. How do we use this information?
So on the price spread, that's going to be at the bottom of that same search page. There's actually two buttons. There's a price spread and there's also shipping information. So you
Mhm.
can click through those and look at, all right, so of these sellers, again, the place that we want to be in, what does that kind of market, what do they expect from you as a seller, right? Because
Mhm.
if you come in, and let's just keep using soap as an example.
Okay.
If you come in and soap, the average price of soap is, let's say, I don't know, $5, right? I don't know what I don't know what 1 bar of soap costs.
Okay.
But let's say the soap is $5 and you come in and you're like, well, I'm gonna make this Etsy listing. I'm gonna keyword it perfectly, and my tags are filled out. I have excellent images, and you price your soap at $259.
Mm.
Is anyone going to buy that? Probably not. So that kind of gives you a general idea from these kind of people that we know are selling and actually building their business what the price spread is. So like that will give you an idea of what you should price your products in or around. Like if you're selling a little bit more of a premium product,
Mhm.
premium soap, maybe you're pricing it at $10. Okay. Maybe if you're selling stuff that's maybe a little bit more mass produced, maybe you're selling it like $350, something like that. And then also if we're shipping physical goods, we want to have an idea of, are most of my competition, are they offering free shipping? Like, what are they charging? Maybe all my competition is offering shipping at, say, $10. Then I have to think to myself, well, is there a way I can bake that into my price? So it's really just to give you an idea of like the pulse of that specific market so that when
Okay.
you put your listing up, that you
Yeah.
have a good idea of what you're doing and how you can stand out or
Okay.
how you can kind of price towards the middle.
Okay. And actually, the fact that we're talking about soap brought something else to mind. Um, so on Etsy, there are three types of sellers: people who make the products that they sell, sellers of vintage items, and then people who sell supplies.
Right.
Does the tool work equally for all types of sellers? Or does it favor a particular type? Like handmade sellers, you know, will get more benefit from the tool as opposed to vintage or supply sellers? Or does it not matter what type of product you're selling? And I say this for a very good reason, because a lot of times people focus only on the handmade sellers, but there's a huge contingent of vintage sellers and supply sellers, and sometimes they get left in the dust.
Yeah. No, we built this tool for everyone. We built it around Etsy SEO, right?
Okay.
And Etsy SEO is important no matter what type of seller you are. So,
Okay.
figuring out those keywords, figuring out those tags. And, a vintage seller is going to be completely different than someone offering supplies. The shipping costs are going to be different. The pricing is going to be different. But you can figure all of that out. And we try to just give you the information that as a seller you need. Because, I see this all the time. People are like, okay, well, I figured out this great product. I have great keywords. I have I understand everything to launch my listing, but like I need to learn more. I just need more information, and they get this information overload.
Yeah.
And we just try to provide exactly what you need so that you can get to selling, right? Because that's what we all want to do. We want to sell a lot of products.
Yeah.
So that's why we built it.
Okay, cool. Now, Sales Samurai also comes with a Chrome extension. Can you tell us how the Chrome extension fits into the Etsy research process, and how best we can take advantage of that?
Yeah, so we built the Chrome extension because, going way back to the beginning of my story, spending all of that time on the Amazon search bar, I know a lot of people that are doing their research, they don't want to be inside of a software, right? They don't want to be using this third-party thing. They want to be on Etsy looking at the results. And I don't blame them because that's exactly how I got started. So we built this Chrome extension, and what it does is that you'll install the Chrome extension, then you'll just head over to Etsy and you'll start doing exactly what you normally do, probably, which is typing things into the search bar, looking at the products. And what it'll do is it'll do two things. When you type things into the search bar and you get Etsy's auto suggestions, right, in that little drop down, it'll tell you how many searches per month those keywords that are being auto suggested to you get. Okay, so extremely helpful. So you know right off the bat, are these keywords searched for? Are there people on the other side of the computer looking for these things? And if they are, that might give you an idea of what you should include in your tags or title. And it'll also give you, it'll say 300 more. And that's really helpful if you don't already have a product. So that'll attempt to give you some suggestions of like, okay, you're typing this in, but what other things are actually getting searched for on Etsy that might be related, that might be sort of related, so you can get an idea of other products you might want to sell. So the way that I use it, okay, because I'm typically a print on demand seller. I sell a lot of t-shirts, mugs, that kind of thing. What I'll typically do is I will enter in just a very broad keyword. I'll see that, hey, it gets 30,000 searches a month. That's great, but I'm really trying to dig down deeper. So what I'll do, I'll enter the broad keyword, I'll hit enter, I'll look at the, first couple of products there. If I'm on Etsy, if not, that'll actually be pulled up in Sales Samurai. But if I'm on Etsy, I'll click through the products, I'll look at their tags, and I'll go, okay, do these tags get searches per month? I'll take a look and I'll be like, okay, maybe they do, but they're still a little bit broad. I'm really trying to niche down those keywords. So I'll take maybe one that's a little bit more niche down. I'll enter that into the search bar up top and I'll type it really slowly, because all of a sudden what's going to happen is that Etsy is going to change those the suggestions in the drop down. And when they do that, you'll be able to see the plugin working, and it's going to tell you all those auto-suggested keywords, how many searches per month they get. And I'll go and I will get really, really specific until they have maybe, 100 searches per month, and it fits exactly what I'm selling. I'm like, boom, there we go. I can use that in my tag. I can use that maybe in my title. And then I take that and then I go and I make my listing on Etsy. And research process done. So it's just really helpful that if you want to do your research, but you don't want to do it in the back end of some software, getting that crucial information of, yes, there are people on Etsy searching for this keyword X, whatever it is, and then going off and using that in your listing.
I love that you said that. So I'm furiously making notes so I remember everything you said that I want to reference. First of all, and just fair notice. Like I said, I mentioned this already to my email, my newsletter subscribers, that I have been testing this tool. So I know some of what Neil is talking about. And when you said type it in slowly, it took me a few tries.
You'll see those things changing, right? Like every letter that you type, you're going to see the auto suggest changing, because what Etsy is trying to do is, they have so much more data than anyone else, and they know that if you type in this specific phrase, that you're more likely to buy it. Right. And that's why they change those auto suggested keywords. So typing it in slowly, seeing, when I'm typing in this longer phrase, I never thought of this keyword, but it's so closely related and people are looking for it. So just trying to bring all of that together so that, yes, we do have enough. We can go list our product on Etsy, or, optimize it. Maybe you're already selling on Etsy. So you can use it either way.
Yes. And I think that is brilliant, because one of the things I really like about Sales Samurai in this time that I've been using it is I'll do the slow type thing, and then sometimes I'll do just an alphabet. Or if I am creating a listing for something, I will say birthday mug 4, and then wait, and then see what Etsy returns and see the volumes and know, okay, people are looking for mugs for their aunts. That's who I should be.
Exactly. So like if you're typing something in like that and you're like birthday mug 4, and then maybe you hit M on your keyboard, and it might say birthday mug for moms, or Etsy might say birthday mug for missionaries or something like that. And you're like, I'm already a mug seller, but oh my gosh, here's all these different kind of mug things I can use,
ways that you can niche down.
I can create those fairly quickly.
Yes. So I really like it for niching down, like you said. Like you already have, and this is why if you already have a product that you're selling on Etsy, how it will help you is to target your market. Like, find who is looking for what you're selling that you aren't already marketing to. So if we go back to the soap, yes, we all need soap. Soap is one of those things that if you're a soap seller and they say, well, who's your target market? You're like, well, everybody takes a bath, we hope. So everyone, but a really good way to narrow it down is, to do this slow typing, soap for, and then you'll see all kinds of things for acne, for babies, for people with sensitive skin, things like that. I'm just coming up with those things. So if you already have a product, using the Chrome extension actually helps you niche down if you're still too broad. And that's one of the things I really like about it.
Well, that's a great example too. Is, I mean, soap for babies, that might be a little bit broad, but like soap specifically for acne. If your soap is like a gentle soap, you may have never thought that keyword was being searched, but all of a sudden you're like, okay, I have this product, but here's this keyword that would actually fit perfectly with what I'm selling.
Yeah.
You enter that in as your one of your tags, or maybe you put it in your title. And then all of a sudden you go into Etsy, a couple weeks later, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm actually getting traffic here. Like, sales are coming up. So it's really just spending the time to find those that you can marry together with your products.
Yes. Neil, can you give us some guidelines about when we're using the tools? What are good numbers? What are bad numbers? Where should we be aiming to fit? And I know as we're talking, it's probably hard for you to imagine, but you can get a free 3-day trial. So after you listen to this episode, you can go to salessamurai.io. Oh, did I say it right? That's it, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay. Yes. And then get the free account. And then as Neil, and please listen to this again as Neil and I are talking, so you can see what we're talking about in real time. And, for the first 3 days, it is absolutely free. You don't have to pay for anything. So then you can test it yourself. And so you'll see that when you type in, and we'll talk about the tool itself, but right now let's still stay on the Chrome extension. You type it in and you see the number of searches, and you'll see the quantity of more. What numbers, before we get to the results page, should we be looking at? Like, should we go for the things that have, 10,000 or more monthly searches, or should we aim for smaller markets where even though there are fewer searches, it's still relevant? And what's too small to waste our time on?
Yeah, so I mean, that is a hard question because there's really no one size fits all solution. Okay, it's really going to come down to what you're selling. Me personally, I do a lot of print on demand. Okay, so what I'm looking for when I do my own keywords is that I want a mix of keywords that get a lot of searches a month and that do have, heavy competition. But I'm not deluding myself to thinking I'm going to rank for those tomorrow. Right? Like, I'm going to put that up and maybe I'll use one or two really big keywords in my tags. And you'll see this a lot on some of the best sellers, like that they're already ranking for these huge keywords. But what I'm really looking for is I'll typically know what the big ones are. I'm looking for smaller keywords that maybe get between 100 to 500 and maybe up to 1,000. It just really depends for me. But I'm looking for those that get those searches per month. They're narrowed down, they're really niched down, but that don't always have too much competition. So for example, if I find a keyword that says, soap for those with acne, and let's just imagine for a second that gets 1,000 searches a month, but then I hit enter and there's pretty much no products on the page, right? Nothing matches up. And I look and I go, well, people are searching for it, but there's really no product out there. There's really not that much competition. Absolutely, I'm going to use it. Yeah. Or if it gets more searches per month and there's not very much competition, absolutely, I'm going to use it. So it's really just kind of figuring out for yourself. I like to take big competition keywords, but I also like to get the keywords that only get a few hundred searches per month in there, because that's where you really start making those sales. And they're not going to be you're not going to be making 200 sales a day off these tiny little keywords,
Yeah.
but they are going to drip those sales into your account.
Yeah.
To your point though, on what would be too small, you know, again, that's really just going to depend on how you guys want to run your business. I probably look at anything 50 searches a month and above, as long as there's not that many other products out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That does help. And I haven't yet used this to coach anyone, but just from doing my own case study, for me, what I used as my benchmark it's very similar to what you said, is even in the 100. So the way I think about it is, okay, take a month that has 30 days. And if a keyword gets searched at least once a day, then the minimum volume you're going to get is 30. But then I want at least 3 searches a day. I want at least 3 people looking for that a day, which takes it to 90. So then I thought, okay, at least if 100 is my cutoff, then at least 3 people are searching for that every day, maybe more.
That's an awesome way to think about it. And just like you said, I mean, if 3 people are searching once per day for a keyword, you should not expect hundreds of sales from that.
Right.
But
yes,
when you do start getting those sales, what happens, right? You're going to serve your customer. You're going to do an awesome job, which leads to reviews, which leads to more sales, which leads to you ranking for bigger tags and keywords. So it's really just kind of all about getting those first initial sales, for me at least, from those smaller keywords, and then building the business up to where you can rank for those big ones.
Yes. And what I found using the tool also is that for the smaller, less searched keywords, typically the results are also not as many. And so the good thing about that is, and especially if you're a new seller and you're trying to get your feet settled on Etsy, you don't want to be fighting with the big guys. You're going to get drowned. So you want to be in a pool where there aren't too many people. And so then I look and I see, okay, not so many people are looking for it, but enough people are looking for it that I'm okay. How many people are selling in this category? Etsy tells you how many results there are right in the top right corner of each results page. It tells you. And so, Neil, I'm curious, and then I'll tell you what I use as my benchmark. What total number of results do you look at, and do you feel comfortable saying, okay, I'll go for this? And what's your cutoff for where you think?
Well, again, that one really depends on like a few factors, right? Like, for example, if you're selling a let's just go back to the soap example. If you're just selling a bar of soap and you type in soap bar and you see a million results, to me, that's still fine, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to find those lower competition keywords that might only have 150 results. So at the end of the day, what I'm really looking for is, under 1,000 typically, but it really just depends on what I'm looking. I don't really think I can narrow that down to one specific number. What about you?
So I have, I think I'm like trying to be a stealth ninja, which might be, it might be a slower path to growth, but I feel like it's sustainable. And so initially I was doing under 2,000, and then I thought, well, no, why don't you even go less? So then I'm looking for things that are under 1,000, like in the 100. Like if I see something that's like 700 results, I'm getting excited. I'm like, yes, this is where I want to be.
It's funny because that's kind of exactly what I've always done when it comes to e-commerce, is that if you can find a space that people want to buy in, but that's very few products, like that's the perfect opportunity. And just like you said, under 1,000 is typically good. The lower the better, typically, because you're not in a sea of 10,000 people. You're not competing against shops that have 40,000 sales anymore. You're competing in this tiny little space where there are still buyers and that you can actually serve those buyers. So yeah, I mean, I typically look for under 1,000. That's kind of, but again, it really just depends on what I'm looking for. So I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and you're right. It does
answer.
depend. It does depend. And for you who, as you're listening to this, I would say think about yourself. If you're looking for something and you get to the results page, forget what the number says. Look at how many pages you have to sift through. If you really want that stained glass hanging to put on your wall and you see 15 pages of results as opposed to 3 pages of results, are you more likely to look at all 3 pages if there were only 3 pages of results as opposed to looking through all 15? So as a seller, I want to be within those 3 pages because it's more likely if somebody's really looking for that particular item, they'll look at all 3 pages. But if they see 15 pages of results, they'll probably stop on the first page. Nobody's going to look at 15 pages of results.
Yeah, and think about this too, is that it also depends on kind of like the intent behind the search, right? So if you're looking for like a stained glass thing to hang on the wall, there's so many different variations that you might be willing to go through a few pages. But if you go to Etsy and you're like, I'm really just looking for a clipboard, right? You're going to look at the first 2 or 3 clipboards and be like, yep, that works. Bye. Like, it's not something you scroll through multiple pages of clipboards to make before you make that purchase. So yeah, it really does depend.
So we've talked about how Sales Samurai can help someone who's already selling and has a product. I think it also holds a lot of promise for new sellers who have an idea but don't yet know how to hone in on it. And I think some of what you've explained has, helped to shed some light on that, which, if you want to go into more detail about how a new seller can pick a niche, we can do that. Otherwise, I have tons more questions for you.
Yeah, I mean, I can just go into it real quick.
Okay.
I mean, so if we go back to the Chrome extension and you're on Etsy and you just have a general idea what you want to sell. And let's just say you want to sell...
No more soap.
No more soap. We need something besides soap. Let's just say you want to sell, I don't know.
An antique chair.
An antique chair. So you think, all right, I'm going to sell chairs. So you just type in chair to the search result and it's going to bring back some auto suggest keywords. And instead of looking at how many those get per month, next to each one of those, you're going to see like, 400 more or 450 more. You can click that, which will bring up the extension over top of Etsy. And it's going to start going through and it's going to show you all sorts of keywords. It's going to show you keywords related. It's going to show you keywords that sort of maybe in the same space. And you're going to see the keyword. You're going to see how many searches per month it gets. If it's, how many words it is. But you're also going to see, and it'll start going through it keyword by keyword. So you'll see it working. It's going to tell you how much competition is actually on Etsy for that keyword. So what we were just talking about with the number of results there, it's going to start bringing back all that information. So you're probably looking at that page if you install the Chrome extension and going, oh my God, I have no idea what to do with this. It's just a lot of keywords. There's filters at the very, very top. So if you're a brand new seller and you're like, I want to sell these, I want to sell some chairs. I don't know what kind of chair I want to sell. What are people actively looking for? You can go up to those filters. You can be like, all right, I want to look through all these 400, 500 keywords, but I want to make sure that it's under 1,000 results and that gets at least 100 to say 500 searches per month. So you can enter in those, click filter, and then boom, 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 boom. It'll give you those results. And you can be like, oh, okay, so people are looking for, antique chairs for X, or people are looking for, customized armchair for blah, right? And then you can get these ideas and you can go, okay, the Etsy current customer base, maybe this one keyword has 300 results, not being served very well, but it gets searched every single month 300 times. Well, boom, now you just found a product that you can go out and create, use that keyword in your tags and your title, optimize a product, and start selling. So that's kind of how I would recommend starting. You have like a general idea of something maybe you want to make, but really figuring out what people search for, but also doesn't have a ton of competition.
Okay.
And going through those results, kind of filtering them down.
Okay. Yeah, that helps a lot. And I'm glad you touched on that, because I know sometimes I'll get emails from people saying, I want to sell. I don't know where to start. And so this is a good way of making it less overwhelming to get to your starting point.
Yeah.
Because a mistake people make is they come in and, they go so broad and then get discouraged, because that's not really a recipe for success. And so that's one of the things I do like about the Chrome extension and the tool. Oh, I was going to ask you something else and I forgot. Okay, so I'll ask you the next thing. So Sales Samurai is not the first Etsy keyword research tool. There are two main other ones that most people are familiar with or aware of. There's eRank and Marmalade. And I don't know if it's taboo for me to bring those up to you, since, you have your own tool. But I know people are going to wonder, I'm wondering too, what's different about Sales Samurai from the other two?
Yeah, so full disclosure, I actually haven't used either of those in about a year.
Okay.
But that kind of goes back to, I'll tell you a quick story and then I'll answer the question. How about that?
Okay.
It kind of goes back to when we started working on this software. It was I think it was like February of 2020. Yeah, right around there. Pandemic's hitting. I knew a seller selling face masks on Etsy. Okay, and so a couple different face masks. They're selling hundreds per day. It absolutely blew up. So way back then, right? We're selling on Etsy, and I use one of those tools. I type in the main keyword. I probably just typed in mask, something like that, and it's sitting there telling me that mask gets, it was like 25 searches a month, something like that, right? And I thought to myself, well, that makes no sense. I have this friend over here selling hundreds per day, but what's going on? And then I was like, all right, well, we already run some software in some other spaces. I'm already selling on Etsy. I think that we can create something, that's truly just focused on the information that I need as a seller and nothing else. So to answer your question, different in a few ways. One, we really wanted to focus on just the information that you need without any of I call it fluff. I don't know if that's taboo to say, but I call it fluff. Just the stuff that you need so that you can do the research, do the optimization, and get out. Because we want you guys on Etsy actively selling. Okay, that's number one. Number two is going to be the Chrome extension, because personally, I do a lot of my research on platforms, on the Etsy search bar, stuff like that. I just find that more natural, and I know other people do too. So to my knowledge, I don't think either of the two you mentioned actually have Chrome extensions. So that was huge for me personally and for people testing it out. And then three, I actually come from a print-on-demand background. So I don't know how much your audience knows about that, but using kind of third-party providers that attach to Etsy, uploading to those, not fun. It's not a fun experience. You have to click through like multiple pages and pick different mock-ups, and there's always different colors. So we actually built a software inside of Sales Samurai that you actually download on your computer. And if you're doing print on demand, you can just upload all the designs you have to the software, click a button, and it's automatically going to create those products for you with your own images, push them to Etsy, and then you can go into Etsy and edit them however you want. So those are probably the three big differences there.
Yeah, and those are major differences too. I also have not used either one of those in a while. I've used them in the past, but not for a while. So when I did, and I don't know if they have them now. When I did, yes, there wasn't the Chrome extension, and you log into the tool to do all your research. But one of the things I do like is being able to see in real time on Etsy the sales volumes and all that, when trying to narrow down.
Yeah, because otherwise you're jumping back and forth,
Mhm.
and you have tabs open, and it's just a huge mess. So being able to see, like, if all you're interested in is, okay, I need to find keywords and I need to see, do people search them, right? And that, I mean, that's the very basics of Etsy SEO.
Yeah.
Super, super helpful, because you can say, I'm on one tab, I'm on Etsy, I see the products that are showing up, and I know that these keywords get searched. Like, if that's all you need, then it's perfect.
Okay. And now I know a good number of people who listen are familiar with print on demand, but not everybody is. And just to give you a brief explanation of what print on demand is for those who aren't, is you create a design, but then you work with a production partner to actually finish making the final product, and then they send it to your customer. And I know that's a very simplistic explanation
Yes.
of
Well, think about this, for example, right? Like, we all wear clothing. Chances are you've seen some graphics on a t-shirt, right? So let's just say it says, like, world's coolest mom, or, I don't know. It says something like that. Print on demand is that you just have a file, like a PNG file on your computer, and it says, world's coolest mom. What print on demand allows you to do through Etsy is that you can take that graphic that says world's coolest mom, you can put that on a t-shirt, you can put that on a hoodie, you can put that on a mug, you can put that on a shower curtain, on a wall clock, right? And you never have to touch these products, because what you'll do is you'll go out and you'll say, all right, there's these print providers. One of them is called Printful. There's Printify and Guten. Those are the three that we actually built into the software. But those print providers offer hundreds of different products, right? Like baseball caps and shower curtains and wall clock, anything you can think of, these people have probably printed. So what happens is that you have this graphic, you upload it to one of these providers, and that they will actually create or push that listing to Etsy. And when you get an order, they will print it, they will ship it, and all you have to do is actually talk to the customer. That's it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And so I think now would be a good time to give some more information about when I started testing Sales Samurai. I first was using it to optimize my listings in one Etsy shop, and then I decided, you know what, let me just see what this tool can really do. And I've done print on demand before, but not through Etsy. I've done it through Amazon, selling merch by Amazon, which I know to Etsy ears might sound extremely foreign. But Amazon has, they sell t-shirts, and if you can create a design, you can put it on a t-shirt, Amazon will sell it to you. It sells through Prime and all whatnot. So I've been doing that. And so I thought, well, let me see if I can use this tool to, one, find a niche to sell in a product, and I wanted to do print on demand, but through Etsy. And so the case study that I mentioned in my newsletter that I talk about is exactly that. It's creating a brand new Etsy shop, print on demand, using Sales Samurai to figure out a niche and what products to sell, and growing that. And if you want to follow along, right now I'm only sharing with my email subscribers, but I'm going to start doing, like, I'll do videos for everyone and talk about it more in the podcast, because I first wanted to get some traction and have something reportable so that I can share with you how you can do that. And and to be sure, you don't have to build out only print on demand products, or build out an Etsy shop around print on demand. That's what I happened to choose because that was my desire. I wanted to bring my graphic design to Etsy, but you can do other things as well. Neil, that's right. Except that the uploader is specifically for POD.
Yeah, so the uploader is going to be specifically for print on demand. If you guys aren't doing any sort of print on demand and you have shops, or maybe you're like a woodworker or something, it wouldn't necessarily make sense.
Yeah.
The uploader is really there to help you kind of get up, if you have designs, products onto an Etsy store. Like if you only have one or two designs, then by all means, please just go upload those directly to one of the print providers. But if you have 100 different designs and you're like, you know what, I really want to start a POD mug shop, right? And I want to get those 100 mugs uploaded. Chances are you don't want to sit down and upload 100 different products. It's painful. You have to fill out a ton of information, and that's when you'd want to use that. Something though that I think is really helpful is, even if you aren't interested in making a POD shop, chances are there's probably something print on demand that you could add to your shop that your customers, if they already exist, would probably like. So if you've taken the time to build a brand, like adding some stickers or adding a mug or adding one t-shirt as a POD product to your shop, is sometimes something that your customers would really like. And they go, oh, I really love this shop that sells this product. I want to support them, or I really like their brand logo, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, they offer it on a shirt. That's awesome. And that can be just like another little revenue stream for you.
Yes. Actually, I'm so glad you said that, because you just opened my mind to what I think, sellers who aren't in doing print on demand can offer. If you have repeat customers and they enjoy your brand, and they like what you do. One of the most common things with print on demand is just slogans or words, just text-based. What's the word I'm looking for, Neil?
Yeah, just like text-based designs is what I usually call them. And it's just, they're so simple, but the thing with those, and the reason that they sell so well for some people, is that they get a reaction out of people. I mean, I have this shirt that a friend made me, POD, that I wear to the gym, and it says, "Have you tried trying?" And I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. So I bought the shirt. I wear it to the gym. Every single time I'm there or I wear it in public, someone somewhere comments on it, because they also think it's hilarious, or they're like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought of that before." It gets a rise out of people, and that's really what's selling, products even on Etsy is all about, is getting them to invoke some sort of emotion.
Yes. One of the reasons that when I decided to do the case study, decided, okay, it's time to try print on demand on Etsy, was there was a time, it was, I want to say within the last year, Etsy showcases their best-selling items on the front page, and they will show them over and over and over again. It's in their newsletters, it's in their emails, everything. And because I have multiple accounts, I see everything like 3 or 4 times, because with Etsy, for every shop you have, you need a separate email account.
Yep.
Which is kind of annoying. So I get the same email like 4 times. And I'm on to them, actually. I noticed that they changed their wording, and I think they do that to test to see which ones get more opens. So sometimes I'm like, I'm not opening any. And other times I'm like, I'm opening all of them. You will not use me for research. Anyway, that's just me. But one of the designs that for months was always everywhere in all their mailings and their front page was a t-shirt that had a mom and her baby, and they were lying on the floor, and it said Mama Bear and Baby Bear. And for months, those were like Etsy's top seller.
Yep. You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I'm pretty sure I've seen that show up in an Etsy commercial. I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of Etsy commercials lately. They seem to be really pushing their advertising.
Yeah. Yep. I have. Yes, and I wouldn't be surprised because Etsy, if it's selling well, of course Etsy is making money, so they're going to push it even more. So if it's in their newsletters, on their front page, on the TV commercials, it's money in the door.
Yep.
So anyway, so yes, so just knowing that when it hit me that wait, that's a print on demand T-shirt and baby onesie, I was like, okay, I need to do print on demand on Etsy. And so the timing was just right with doing this case study. And so I hope that as you're listening, you'll follow along with this case study. You'll be able to see a brand new shop from scratch, zero sales and all the frustrations that come along with trying to figure all that out, and I'm using Sales Samurai to help direct and grow this Etsy shop. So hopefully you'll join me on that journey, and we can experience the ups and downs together, and hopefully more ups than downs. Neil, is there anything else about Sales Samurai that we haven't touched on?
We haven't touched on a few things. I mean, I can just generally go over them.
Please do.
We have the ability to add shops. I mentioned that a little bit at the very beginning, but if you're already an Etsy seller, when you log in, the first thing you probably want to do is connect your shop, because that's going to tell you, it's going to pull up all of your information and show you, like, do you have any listings that are missing tags?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any that are missing images? And those are the first two things that you want to take care of.
Okay.
Right? Like, before you dive into anything else, you want to make sure that your kind of Etsy shop is filled out in that aspect. So that's really helpful. It'll also give you information, the pricing, the shipping. There's little detail buttons next to each one. So if you click that, or if you click one of those in the search bar on the left, so if you click on search, you enter a keyword, you're looking at products that are already selling, you'll often see a little eye in a circle.
Mm-hmm.
If you actually click that, it's going to bring you to the single listing page. And I use that page a lot because I'll enter in like a bestseller. I'll scroll down. I'll look at their tags. And in one spot, it's going to show you the tags that are being used. And it's going to show you the search volume. And it's going to show you a bunch of other information. But those are the two main things I'm looking at. It's like, okay, here's the tags of the bestsellers. Here's how specific they are. They long tail keywords. They're getting searched. So that little eye, you want to hit that little eye. Outside of that, we have a few other things. I mean, we have a competition tracker to kind of, you can add shops or you can add keywords. Again, this is really just to help you get an idea of where the market is going, or is it going up? Are more products being added? So, for example, I added a keyword a while back. I just entered in Labradoodle. Okay, so I entered that in a couple months ago. And I just pulled it up here and I'm looking at it and I can see over time, since about, February 14th, there's been over 1,000 new products added. Okay, so like, why on earth would that be important to me? I know that the market is going upwards. Like, more sellers are coming into this market. It typically means, or more products are being added by the same amount of sellers. So, I mean, that could give you a lot of good information. Is the market trending upwards? Is it going down? Are people still buying in it? So, adding shops, adding keywords. I wouldn't do that right away if you're a brand new seller. I would just focus on getting your shop kind of optimized with keywords, making sure everything is looking good before you start looking at everyone else. But that's in there for sure. There's a favorites. So when you're doing your research, there is a listings favorites and there's a keywords favorites. Going all the way back to the beginning of this conversation, I used to create these giant spreadsheets. Absolutely hated it. So if you find something that you really like and you want to look at in the future, you can just add it to your favorites, and you can create different categories in here. So you can go back and see, all right, I really like this sloth t-shirt. I mean, I have one in here. It's a funny sloth t-shirt. I can see how many views it got, how many photos, how many tags, how many likes, and then I can download that in a CSV so I can look at it 3 months from now, right? Or I can just keep it in here and log into Sales Samurai and take a look whenever I want. But keeping those in kind of like an online CSV or the ability to download them, for me, for me was really big because I love my spreadsheets. And then finally, we also have a calendar in here with
Yes.
U.S., UK, Germany, and unofficial holidays because there's so many of these. I don't want to say dumb, but they're kind of like these dumb, weird little holidays that people find hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, and designing around those can lead to sales. Like I'm just looking at it now. April 10th, which was a couple days ago, about a week ago, was Siblings Day, right? So what you can do is that you can come in here and look into the future a month or two and say, all right, am I currently selling something, and can it fit in with whatever holiday is here?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, you can come in here. I'll just go to June. June's Memorial Day looks like is actually that's not June. That's the month before. I'm looking at the 30th.
May.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, the 12th, June 12th is the Queen's birthday in the United Kingdom. I have no idea what I would sell for the Queen's birthday, but if you're in the UK and that's something that might sell products, Red Rose Day. You have Nature Photography Day. So if you're a photographer and you're selling prints, that might be something you want to take a look at. So it's
Yeah.
really just a good idea to say, all right, I'm currently in April. What's happening in the world a couple months from now, right?
Yeah.
Can I create products around that? Do I even care? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So just kind of keeping a tab on things and seeing, are there opportunities for you to create more products on Etsy?
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that because that's one of the things I really was impressed with was the calendar of days, which, like you said, yes, some of them are so random, but then they
Yeah.
also give you the opportunity to, target an audience that's underserved.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
I saw one that I started to create a mug for Morse Code Day. I can't remember when it was or is,
Interesting.
but yes, I was like, oh, that's a thing.
Yeah, yep.
Yes. So yes, that is definitely a helpful feature to have in there. And I know Etsy has something similar in their shop manager, but the way it's laid out in Sales Samurai, I think is more accessible because you see everything. Etsy will tell you over time, okay, coming up Memorial Day, but here you can look into the future and say,
Right.
okay, we're
And
here now.
in all the big ones too, right? Like everyone sort of knows, maybe not. Everyone knows that Father's Day is coming up.
Mhm.
Those are the big holidays, and that's not necessarily why we built this tool. You're looking for the little stuff where it might be underserved, might be an
Yeah.
opportunity. Memorial Day, Father's Day, like those are big holidays in
Yeah.
the States typically where most people know about them, and they're probably fairly well served on
Mhm.
Etsy. But like you just brought up, Morse Code Day, all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, well, yeah, that's a day, but is the Morse code niche on Etsy, like, is that a thing? Maybe I
Mhm.
should go look. And then you start
Mhm.
looking, you're like, well, wait a minute, maybe I can create this, or wow,
Yeah.
there's no products like this, but people are looking for it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your mind starts ticking and you're like, wow, okay, there's some ideas here.
Yeah. Yep. I have a question. Now, in the Sales Samurai tool, when you do a search, there you can either see a red circle or a green circle. Do those mean anything?
Yeah, so if you're looking at the if you're looking at the red circle, it just means it's really high or it's not a long tail keyword, right? So if you just go in there and you type in, say, mask, and it'll say, at the very top you'll see search volume, long tail, competition, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Under long tail, that's probably going to be a red circle because it's not a long tail. Or competition, that's going to be, mask probably has a lot of results, so that's probably going to be, you know, a red circle. But if you see like a lot of search volume,
Mhm.
a lot of search volume is typically like good,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't necessarily mean you should go into it, but I
Mhm.
think we'll have a green check next to it. Why? Because the more searches it gets, it means the more people there are, it means the more opportunities to sell to them.
Okay.
So yeah, they do mean good or bad, but I mean, at the same time, that's really up to you as a seller to determine like what metrics you are looking for your own store.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else we've missed?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably. To be honest, probably. You know, we've packed a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just be honest. Most people are probably going to only use one or two features, and that's exactly what they need. Some people are going to use two other features, and that's exactly what they need.
Yeah.
So if you get the 3-day trial and you're going through and you're like, oh, you know, I need to use this, or I need to use this. No, like figure out what works best for your business. And it might only be one thing, and just use that one thing, right? Like it's all about making those sales on Etsy and optimizing your store. And if that only requires one thing for you, that's awesome. Like use that. If you don't need anything, don't use it, right? So like it really just comes down to figuring out you as a seller and what tool you need to make your life a little bit easier, and then doing that thing.
Okay. Thank you, Neil. Okay. So now, as Neil mentioned, the first 3 days are free. This is a paid tool, obviously. And the monthly plan is $9.99 a month. And then there's also an annual plan for $99.99 a month. I am endorsing this product, and I've worked out a deal with Neil and his people where if you use my coupon code that I'm going to share with you, you can get 20% off either your monthly subscription or your annual subscription. And that 20% will be for life. Neil, it's for life, right?
Absolutely correct.
Okay,
yes.
It's on the record.
Yeah, no, I mean some people might think that, oh, you know, it's for the first month only, and like I don't think that's right. So yeah, it's as long as you are subscribed to it and you use the coupon code, then it's there. It's not going away.
And that code is Etsy Conversations, like the podcast, just Etsy Conversations, all lowercase. And because you use my code, if you use it, I will get a referral bonus. It doesn't cost you anything at all. And I did work out this deal with Neil, just so you guys know that I do get a referral commission if you sign up and use that coupon code. I will have a link to Sales Samurai also that you can go to from the website. Again, it's salessamurai.io. You can either click the link or go there. But the only way to get that 20% off forever on whichever subscription you sign up for, the monthly or the annually, is to use the coupon code Etsy Conversations, and it will automatically apply, and you will always get that 20% off for as long as you're subscribed.
Correct. And I should throw in there that takes effect after the third day, right? So it's still completely free for those 3 days, so you guys can play around with it.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for throwing that in there. I forgot.
Of course.
Neil, if anyone wants to learn more, are there any other resources that you can point people to? I mean, obviously there's all the information on salessamurai.io, but the best way to really get a feel for it is to just jump in there and try it. And don't be intimidated. Like when I first started using it, I was kind of intimidated. I felt a bit overwhelmed, but there are 7 tutorial videos in there. I would say watch the videos first, because that helps to just get your bearings, and then you can decide what you want to start with. If you're a new seller and you're trying to figure out what you want to sell, then you'll know how to use the Chrome extension. If you're already selling and you're not gaining traction, or you've lost traction in your Etsy store, then you can use the keyword tool to optimize your listings and your tags. What other situation would anybody be in?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to what you said, I mean, watch those videos. Please watch those videos, right? Because we put them together. Or I put them together. You'll hear my voice in those videos, but I promise you, they are not long. They're like 3 to 4 minutes long, and they'll give you the context around each module so that you can go, okay, I'm this type of seller, or I'm this type of seller, or I'm having this type of problem, and it'll put into context like, okay, how should I use this module, or do I even need to look at that one? Maybe I need to look at this one over here. And it'll just give you that framework in order to make the most use out of it.
Yeah. And if you have any questions, I'm not a pro, but I am learning the tool, and I think I'm getting better at it. You can always ask me, send me an email. And if I forget me, they have a support. Sales Samurai actually has a support team. I mean, you can ask me too. Don't forget me. You can ask me too. But they also have a support team that can jump on it if you're having issues. Like if you're having technical issues, definitely go to their support team. If you're having issues just trying to figure out where to start and what to do, and you've watched the videos, send me an email and I'll try and help you work through things.
Perfect.
Neil, thank you so much for doing this. I am excited about this tool. I'm excited to share my case study and for people to watch this in real time, and even more so excited to introduce this tool for people to use to try and, just help them get better at what they're doing on Etsy. So thank you, 1, for creating it, and 2, for coming on and sharing more about it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. And also, I should mention that, we are continuously trying to put out some content around how to use these. So Sales Samurai does have a blog, right? Completely free. You guys can check that out. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been fun. And I really hope that people listen to it and take some action, right? That might be creating products, might be optimizing, just doing little things in your Etsy business can make all the difference. And that's really, really why I'm here. I want you guys to go out there and create something.
Yes. And this episode, my new episodes air on Wednesdays. If you know you're busy, then sign up on Friday. So you have the whole weekend to play around in the tool for your first free 3 days. Right.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks again, Neil. And I thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. I will be back again next week with another episode.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.